I'm doing Czek. I'm with Liz Sage down at Team Fitness.
Hi, Jim.
How you doing today?
Doing great.
Posture? Is that what we're going to work on?
We're going to talk about posture today.
So important, right? Because as we get older, we tend to creep in even on the computers, right?
More and more all the time because, what do you think? Yeah.
And your hands are always in front of you kind of thing?
Well, just even think of the phone.
Yeah.
The phone is
like everything is kind of like
smaller,
right here,
it's closer together, and we're in this posture. You know, if we could look at our phones like this and be thinking about that, it'd be a different story, but we're not. Head is down. We got chin poking, right? And we're also, you know, changing the structure of our spine.
Bend over stuff.
Kyphosis.
Right?
Yep, exactly right. We also, everything, always arms forward.
Right, kind of thing.
Anterior plane is where we live.
Yeah.
We're seldom moving behind here, right? Doing things where
everything is kind of here. Right?
Exactly right. Yeah. So gravitational forces pulling us down, right? So we have these rounded postures. So what's happening is we have short, strong, and tight anterior muscles of the upper body. And then in the back, we have longer and weaker muscles in the back. Yeah. So if you can think of this, we want to lengthen and strengthen, right?
Yep.
That's going to help us with our posture, right? And quite often, people tend to work the muscles they can see in the mirror as opposed to the ones that they can't.
Makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
Hard to see the back.
Yeah, it's hard to see the back, but it's more important. It's the most important area to be working for strength for posture. And then in addition to that, the whole posterior chain, the back of us, is going to help us be stronger against the gravitational pull, right? Core exercises, when we hear train your core, a lot of people instinctively think abdominals. Yeah. But we know the core is 360, and we've done a podcast stream on the core, and we've learned from that for every exercise you do for the front of your torso, you want to do an equal opposing muscle for the back, right? So so when we do that, we're trying to fight off that anterior plane work as well. Yeah, right. So when we think about lengthening, we'll go to the lengthening first. We want to make sure that we're working against the tightness of the shoulder, the anterior deltoids it's called, the pectoral muscles of the front and through here, okay? And even sometimes the length of the bicep can get shorter as well because of where it attaches. So we want to be able to lengthen through the arms as well. And while you don't need to have something like this strap, you can use a doorway, you can use, you know, some tension cables, something like this as well to help work on stretching as well. But this is a great little tool, and you'll see them in most gyms. And a lot of people, it's a home device as well, so people can, you know, grab one from home. What I like to do is hold not the stiff handles on this for this stretch, but the more flexible handle of the strap on the bottom, okay? So we're gonna get you to grab that, one on each hand, and then come in the middle there. Yeah, and then all you're gonna do here is we're gonna try and work on lengthening the chest and shoulder. So just stagger your step one in front of the other. Okay, and again, you can imagine your hand on either side of a doorway. So this is something you could just, every time you walk through a doorway, just pause, you know, and then lean yourself forward. Yeah, keep trying to keep a nice neutral back and lengthen through here. We're trying to keep the hand level with the underarm as opposed to pushing it up at the shoulder level, okay? And the reason why we do that is when we have two bones coming together here, your clavicle, your collarbone, and then your acromion, your arm bone. So when those two bones come together, they touch, they impinge the ligament and muscles that run through here. That's why it doesn't feel so comfortable. So when we just drop slightly, then it allows us to push through, all right? So that is one of the ways we start to lengthen, okay? But the challenge often is people they're not coming into the stretches in the right position to begin with, all right? So we're gonna back things up and we're gonna show what we need to be thinking about before we actually do the stretch. So you're going to face me sideways here, okay? And so when we look at postures, feet a little bit closer together, toes are straight but not too close. Try to just relax and kind of be a little more slumpy, because your posture actually is pretty good, I have to say.
Slump?
But not overly, but typically we tend to have rounded shoulders, and then that little bit of a rounded upper back
Right,
through here.
Kind of do this. Kind of thing,
Yeah, and then sometimes too a sway in the back, right? So where the pelvis is, tilted forward, and you get a bit more of a sway in the back. Okay, people tend to push their weight into their pelvis instead, right? So we have a couple of little checklists that we wanted to sort of run through as we do this. So the first part is the head, and the head can weigh upwards of 12 to 15 pounds. So we want to just tuck the chin in and back so that the head is on top of the spinal column, okay? So it's not protruding forward, okay? And so now it's nice and lined up with the spine. And then next we're gonna take the shoulders and nothing really big, but just bring them up slightly, pull them back to the back wall, and then set them down on top of your hips. And so automatically now you've lengthened this a little bit, and these muscles are shortening in a contraction. So you can feel them, they're turned on, right? So you can feel some tightness in there. And the more you can practice just a little movement throughout your day.
Just kind of like pulling back.
Yeah, pulling back and down, and then trying to keep there for as long as you remember, which will only be for seconds for some people before they're distracted and they're moving on to someone else. I encourage my clients who are at desk jobs to put a little sticky note on their computer, just even putting the note on without anything on the note, right? Just the sticky part of the square, and move it around periodically, because you can kind of get sort of adapted to the note being there, and it doesn't really significantly mean anything. So it just kind of triggers you to go, oh yeah, okay, I'll sit up nice and tall, right? While you're driving, doing dishes, even watching TV, have your head supported so you're not sitting that way. And then even when you're on your phone, that you're thinking about being a little bit more pulled back into your posture, as opposed to down and round. Yeah. Okay. So we have this upper part, and then we want to neutralize the spine a little bit. So the first thing I like to get people to do is to squeeze their butts. So tighten your glutes up, and you can feel automatically that spine just sort of straightens out a little bit. And then also there's some activation of the core. There's a little bit of tension. Okay, and then we're going to add more tension to the core by pulling the navel into the spine, and then the lower abs braced. So if I was going to drop kick you in the gut,
Let's give it a try.
you would brace. And then now you're supporting your pelvis, which is now going to support your lower back, which is now going to support your entire spinal column, right? So we line things up the way we wanted to be, and then we go back into the stretch through the doorway or in through the straps. And we think about that lined up position, right? So we're not elevated through the shoulder, we're pulled down and back. And then we try to keep that stable, shoulder blade stable as we're pushing through, so it's not hiking up as we go forward. And you want to stretch to about 7 out of 10, okay? And that so that little change that you just made there, okay, is great, because you don't want to be pushing your chin forward as you're stretching. You want to try and keep that head, which can weigh 12 pounds or so. So you're going to feel it through here, in through the pecs, and then just that little tilt pelvis, so you're not feeling too much of a sway in the back. All right. So there's an upright way of stretching the chest. And now let's go on to the ball here and show a way that you can do this. So we're going to get you seated, and then you're going to walk yourself down into a tabletop position. So you just lay your head onto the ball. Right there's good. And then bring your hands straight up and together. And now in this position here, you're going to find your posture. So your shoulders are down and back. Yeah. And then just let the shoulder blades go towards your hips. Yeah, good. And then stabilize your spine by squeezing your glutes. And now we're just going to open in an iron cross position, and you are going to press your knuckles down into the floor and just find that stretching. And now in here, you can move the arms a little bit. So if you're somebody who is quite flexible through the chest, then you can start to, with still keeping your shoulder blade down into your glutes, so you don't want to hike your shoulder to your ear, start to go just up a little bit and find the tension position, and then keep pushing downward towards the floor at the same time. So did that increase the tension?
Definitely.
Okay, and so we want to be careful because we're not going to do this upright in the upright position, but in this position here, we have better control because of gravity about keeping our shoulder blades pulled down. And then gradually, as you become, more proficient and looser, longer in the tension here, then you can kind of go up and a little bit further, right? And so, and when you're stretching, what I like to teach is go to the stretch of about a tension of 7 out of 10, maybe a little bit more, 75% tension in the muscle you're trying to stretch. And then only hold it for about 12 or 15 seconds, and then release, relax, and then repeat the same stretch again, and ride on the coattails of the first stretch, rather than sitting into this for a minute. In fact, the research shows us that stretching for any longer than a minute doesn't really do anything more than less than a minute or less, okay? All right, and then holding, and then release, relax, and see if you can go just a little bit further tension, but it's still gonna feel like 75%. It's not gonna feel like a 9 out of 10. Yeah, makes sense?
You can feel the increase in the
yeah, okay. So that's gonna lengthen muscles, increase the joint mobility of the shoulder, and as a result, these muscles won't be pulling you forward as much, which is going to allow you to work the posterior muscles between the shoulder blades and the back of the shoulder to work and get stronger and keep you back in this position. And when these are short and tight, even though you're strong back there potentially, you're working against these tight shoulders all the time. So we want to work in unison with these two movements.
Like shoulders that are kind of pulled in.
Yeah, and we'll see that a lot with individuals who are more inclined to bodybuild. And again, that mentality of working the muscles they can see in the mirror, and there's not as much work in the back. Yeah, so it's gonna look a whole lot different. A foam roller is also another way to stretch for postural muscles. So let's get you to sit on the very end of this, and then you're gonna lay yourself back.
Just sit right here?
Yeah. And move your butt forward a bit, and then put your head right down, bend your knees. Okay, so a similar position to the ball, but we can make it a little bit more difficult for someone who's a little more flexible. And so we're gonna take your hands up into a stick 'em up position. So your elbows are at 90, that's it. And then you're going to press your forearms, and let's rotate your thumbs down, and your shoulder blades, find your posture, down and back, yeah? And then you're just gonna press your forearm down towards the floor with the direction of your thumb, and you can feel the tightness in there. Okay, all right, and again, we want the elbow to be at underarm level, and just note the tension, what changes in your shoulder when I do this. Just do one, okay? Does this feel a little more uncomfortable?
No.
Okay, so that's good. For you, it's good. You also didn't move your scapula, okay? But now lift your shoulders to your ears a little bit, yeah? And then if I do that, does it feel a little more uncomfortable?
Fine.
Okay, and if I do that,
Fine.
okay. All right, now pull your shoulder blades down in your pockets. Yeah, okay, so that's what we want. We want to have space between your shoulder and your neck and ear, okay? And now you're going to press as far down as you can to that 75%. Be mindful not to arch your back too much. Okay, it's a tension in your abs, so that butt squeeze, navel to spine. Okay, and you've got tension now?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so over time, we want to work the thumb towards the floor and the forearm towards the floor so that you're getting all the way down through there.
Yep.
Okay. Now, someone who's a little more tight than you can just do a straight arm. It's a lot easier, right? Not as much tension.
Yeah, that's very easy.
Yeah, it's for you. Okay, but there's lots of people who can't even get their knuckles on the floor in this position, right? So, and you're somebody who goes to the gym every day. Yeah. So the mobility in your shoulder is really quite good, right? Your posture is good as well. So we want to make sure that that daily movement is happening. And we've talked about this many times, that strength training, the movement of strength training, is mobility, right? And so you're getting better at mobility in your joints when you're lifting heavy things carefully, but you're still getting mobility. So that's an asset in of itself. Okay, and we can do the straight overhead as well. All right, and rather than lifting your shoulders to your ears, keep your scapula pulled down still, and just move the shoulder joint not the scapular joint. So that shoulder stays down, okay, and we're just moving here, okay, and then we're trying to stretch. Yeah, and again, you've got some good length in through your lats, but this will help increase the length through here as well. Okay, and not for very long, sweeping in, release, relax, repeat, and then back again. Okay, and so your thumbs are gonna push into the floor, just with a straight arm though, okay, and not hiking that shoulder into your ear. So rather than taking your head away from your arm, just pull your shoulder blade down. That's it. Good. Right. And we can notice, and partly because I've worked this a little bit more, that one side is a little tighter than the other. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. And but again, the repeating back and forth will help bring those two into more of an equal position. All right. Great. Okay, and then one other area that is helpful for posture is stretching hip flexors. So come on back up. And we're gonna get you to stretch your hip flexors. Now, we can do this one standing, whereby you're just putting one foot behind the other in this stance here, okay? And then you're gonna tip your pelvis and just feel a stretch in the front of your hip. So just start with that one, which is pretty basic and pretty general, not too invasive. Yeah, so you're tilting your pelvis underneath. Yep, okay? And so when we sit for long periods of time, this muscle here shortens, all right? And then it affects how your pelvis situates underneath your spine, right? And so the shorter this is, the more the pelvis will come underneath, okay, which also creates length in the back and weakness in the back. So being nice and long through there is part of that. But you also have the quadricep, also part of that chain, and it shortens with the hip flexors. So this one here is probably fairly easy for you to do, and part of that again is because of how regularly you weight train. But for a lot of people, it's super tight. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get you to kneel on the floor. So let's start you here, okay? Use this mat. So we're gonna start here, and then you're going to just come down, put your foot back onto this block, and then you're just gonna drop your heel onto the mat, okay? So we call this a couch stretch. So this foot can be on a couch, a chair, a block. Just fold this in half for your knee. It's a little thin. Okay, so 2 feet in front to start with. So bring your feet up on the mat a little further. And then hands down. Put one foot back on top of the block, and then your knee down. Push this foot forward. Yeah. And then up through. Now, a little tighter than standing here. Yeah, okay. And so you've got the quad stretching, and you want the pelvis to come underneath you, right? So tuck it underneath you so that you can feel it up a little bit higher into the hip flexor. And now if we take this arm and we lift the arm up, this is going to stretch a little further up into the psoas muscle. Okay, you can feel that? Feel it, yeah. Yep, and then slightly over to the side with that, and then it pulls even a little bit more, okay? Yeah. So keeping the shoulders there, all right? Okay, so people who sit a lot will do themselves well to be able to stretch out through the front of the thigh, the hip flexor in the joint of the hip as well. And again, you don't have to stretch for long, so come back down and then just bend and relax it, yeah? And then go right back into the same side, tuck the pelvis under first, then lift the arm without arching the back, and then cross the arm over to the side as well. That's it, okay? All right, so hip flexors, again, another part of the chain that will tip the hips, which will impact the spine, which can lead to other challenging circumstances with low back health. Feel that through here. Yeah, and you're also fairly close to the box, and so that's a fairly tight stretch. And so if it's too tight, you just move away from there. And then if it's really too tight, take your foot right off of this, let the foot go down, and that foot goes forward more. Yeah, and then lean in slightly. Yeah, okay. And so while you're getting that stretch, it's not as intense as the one with the foot on. Barely feel it. Yeah, okay. And again, this is not enough for you, but it will be enough for a lot of the population. Yeah, okay. All right. And then the final one for lengthening. And again, there's many more that we could be adding, but these are just some good ones to start with. So we're gonna sit on the ball. And for a lot of people, just getting into this position is not that easy. And what happens is they're sitting like this. They can't have a straight spine when they're on it, okay? And then we're gonna keep the feet a little wider. And so we wanna try to get people to be able to sit in this position and then just taking your knees or your elbows onto the knees and just pushing them away without this rounded posture. So the first goal is to sit upright, okay? And have your bum tucked underneath you. Yeah. And the second goal is to open up the knees with a nice straight spine. Yeah. And literally sitting in this position for minutes, up to 10 minutes even. Yeah. Okay. So that they're really working on opening up those hips, okay, and lengthening through those muscles. So eventually they're not actually having to use anything at all, right? Now you want to get your heels down, okay? And then gradually you want to have your toes also straight. Harder. So see where your heels are coming up?
Yep.
Yeah. So what that indicates is that you might be a little tighter in your calves. All right. So doing some calf stretches whereby you're lengthening out the calf by leaning forward, right? And getting that stretch will help that. And we do notice that when there is, so put this toe down and sit on your heel. Yeah, and then keep this toe level with your knee. A bit further up. Yeah, and then you're just gonna rock forward without letting the heel come off the ground. So as I rock forward, I'm not picking up my heel at all. Yep. Okay, I'm just keeping it down. And you feel that in the calf?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so when we see people move into these different positions, we're looking for what else is happening in other parts of the body that might be, that are compensating, yeah. And that may be the reason that they're not able to get into the position in the first place.
Right, because you just said your calf looks tight, so that's why we're not.
That's right, yeah. And typically, when you try to straighten your feet out in this position, okay, yeah, whether you're keeping them straight and not getting your heels down, I'm looking all the way through the chain, right, so that I can go, oh, okay, well, if we work on that, that's going to improve this sitting open position. All right. Okay, so there's the lengthening, right? And now we talk about the strengthening of the mid-back muscles. So spin all the way around. So we're looking to work the posterior chain up through here, rear delts, mid traps, rhomboids, upper lats. Okay, these two bones are our scapular bones, okay, shoulder blades, right? And we want to be able to squeeze these muscles together, and relax, arms up, squeeze them again, and relax, and again, yeah. And as we do that, we're trying not to elevate the shoulders at the same time. So relaxing the arms down. So we go through that posture check, so it's chin tuck, shoulders back and down, yeah. Squeeze your glutes, and you could feel that spine just straighten right out. I could actually see it. And then navel to spine, and then your lower abs are turned on, fully braced, okay? And now we do exercises that are going to activate these muscles. So just in holding you up in this position, these are turned on a little bit, right? But we wanna contract and release under load so that we can increase the size of these muscles, make them stronger, right? And so that they can actually hold you back now every hour, not just
more balancing,
the few minutes that you're going to, actually set your posture and try to hold it in place, yeah? Okay, all right, so one of the exercises that we can do at home is, let's have you lay on your stomach, and you're gonna put your hat on backwards so that your forehead can go onto the ground. And I'll just let's put your head at the front. Yeah, let's face the camera this way, yeah. Good. And then you can put your forehead on the towel. And then your arms are going to be in the stick 'em up position. Yeah, perfect. Good. Okay. Now in this position here, we want to try and have your head in that nice position. So is your chest resting comfortably down there? That's better. Okay. So see how we let this relax a lot more? Okay. And bring your elbow down a little more so it's at underarm level. This one down a little more. A little more. Good. All right. So now in this position, Jim, go through that postural position. So gravity's got you there, shoulders down and back, and you can see how much movement you had here, yeah? Okay, and then you've got your glutes squeezed, okay, navel to spine, a little bit of tension in your abs, and all you're gonna do here is turn your thumbs up and bring that hand at 90, and now without doing anything else in your body, you're just gonna lift your forearm and thumb up to the ceiling by squeezing these shoulder blades together. So your elbow's gonna come up too, yep, and then back down. And so all we're trying to do is have this all lift as one unit, okay? Stay down, and again, and just hold it. You can feel these on fire, and then back down, okay? And again. So you don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to go anywhere to do this. You can do this at home nicely, and that in of itself is gonna start to activate those muscles, okay? Another one you can do is slide your arms forward, lift them up, so lift your put your palms down, lift your hands up with your arms, and then straight arms go to the side, all the way through, and then all the way, turn your arms in and to the side. And now come back up, lift, and in front. Now, when you do it this time, pay attention to your shoulders so they don't hike up into your ears. Okay, so lift, push them to the side, shoulders in your pockets, turn them around, and then back the other way. Great, and now we're gonna turn the hands up, okay? And so when you do that, you wanna creep up again, right? So keep that down. So this is a little tougher, and so now we're gonna keep the palms up, go to the side, and then spin them down as you go back around and back in. There you go, okay? And then through, palms up, and then back down. Nice. Okay, so very simple movement pattern, but you can feel how hot these get, right? And you didn't really do a whole lot of them. I'm gonna bring this down a little more. Okay, all right, but yes, you got pretty hot in here?
Definitely worked it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, all right, now let's get you up on your knees, up on your feet. And there's lots of exercises you can do in the gym. And if you go back on Fitness Matters and you look at some of our strength training ones, you can see a varying amount of exercises we've done to work those mid-back muscles. But here's a strap exercise that we can do very simply. We can use cables in a gym. We can use dumbbells in a gym, kettlebells to work on rowing actions. And so that's what you want to remember is pulling actions are what's going to work these mid-back muscles, as long as we have the tool that we're using in the right position, okay?
Lawnmowers and face pulls.
Lawnmowers and face pulls, things of that nature, which the general population isn't going to know what those names are, but essentially what it is where you're pulling things in. The challenge with a lot of people who are doing those exercises, they're not thinking about the muscles of the mid-back to start the movement. They often pull with their arms. And so they defeat a lot of the value of the exercise.
I was doing wrong before because I was just like kind of just like figuring all you can do is lift the weight up and however it
That's
gets
right.
up there, it gets up there, right?
And also body positions, momentum is throwing them there, And so when we slow things down and we literally drag our shoulder blades together
and try to feel the actual
feel the back moving first, and then the arm is secondary to that. So the primary mover that's going to move the hardest part of the movement should be coming from the back, right? And again, it doesn't have to be super heavy, but really we should be starting out with lighter weights for postural muscles, because posture is about endurance of those muscles. And while you will gain strength as well, we want to be able to go the distance. So actually keeping your postural exercises high in reps and low in intensity are going to do more justice to the postural changes that we're looking for. If somebody comes in to me to see me and they have poor posture, I changed what they've been doing if they've been exercising so that I work a 2-to-1 ratio. Right, so I may not do any exercises for the front because they still like to work the chest and so on. But what I'll do is have them do extra back exercises. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio, or the two exercises I give to the front, one is a strength, one is a lengthen, to 2 strengthen in the back.
To kind of build the back up.
Exactly, yep. And the lengthening of this is something I'm going to give them in all of their mobility exercises as well, right? Okay, so for rowing actions then, let's just demonstrate how we want those muscles to move. So let's face the wall, and you're going to do, let's have your thumbs inward, so you're holding onto a motorbike handle. Yep, and then straight body and just lean back so that you're, okay, now find your posture, position, and then knuckles are up. Yeah, okay. And then neutralize your spine by squeezing your glutes. Okay, so now you're not as arched. And so we're looking back in through here. And you know, for you, we can actually see the outline of your scapula a little bit, okay? Whereas some people are so immobile in the shoulder blade that just round this a little bit. Not just straight arms still, just round. That we can't really even see the scapula. It's so rounded, right? So now fix your posture, and then see if with you, we can actually see that scapula sticking out. All right, so no arch in the back. And now without bending your elbows, you're just gonna squeeze these 2 bones together. Yeah, and so drag your body in, just try not to arch. Yeah, hands shoulder width apart, or a little wider even. Okay, and so just straighten, lock it out, and just squeeze these bones together. Yep, good, more. Yes, that's what I'm looking for, and then relax. Yeah, and then squeeze again. Yeah. Now try not to move just your hips. Okay, so try to move in through here, and relax, and in through here. Keep squeezing, up here. Better. Good, okay? So we still want to get a little more mobility in there, so avoid this extension position, okay? So we're going to pull in through here. Okay, keep going, pull, 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 pull. So stand up tall. So when you were standing, let's look at the difference. Under weight, under load, arms straight up, just to your chest. Okay, now straight arms, yep. Now squeeze your shoulder blades together. See how much travel you have? Okay, so I'm looking for the same travel. Relax, okay, and no arch. Yeah, good. Okay, so just upper body, squeeze. Yeah, so look how mobile that shoulder is, and relax. Okay, stand tall. Get your weight over your feet. Squeeze again, yeah, and then, yes. Okay, and then back, and again. Okay, so now we want the same thing with some load. Okay, so feet forward, a little bit more, feet forward, because you have to have some weight on you. Okay, and then hands are open. Okay, and now squeeze. That's better, okay? So sometimes it's just getting people to practice mobilizing that shoulder blade, that scapula, okay? And without hiking up, just going inward. Watch that low back, okay? So try to straighten things out, okay? And now squeeze, and now bend your elbows and row right in. So pull in, bend your elbows, bring your hands to your chest, row, yep, right up, good. Heels down, yep. Okay, shoulders out of your ears. Yes, good. And then back. Okay, and again, this starts first, then the elbows flex, and then you come up. Okay, now walk forward a little bit. We're gonna give you a little more weight. Okay, and then back. Try to keep your hands wide, and this time you're gonna move those elbows out to the side. So squeeze, pull from here, no arching. Elbows out to the side. Pull in, feel the back of your shoulder. Nice, yeah. Straight back, and then all the way back. Now as you go back, try not to hike up those shoulders, okay? No arch, no arch. There you go. Better. Okay, so you can feel the rear delt, you can feel the mid back. Okay, they feel like they're hot again?
Yep.
Excellent, okay? And then just change your thumb up position. Now we have a steering wheel kind of row, and do the same thing, pulling inwards. So now we're actually getting underneath your armpit, some of those lat muscles, okay? And avoid that arch. Neutralize your spine, yep. Back through, love it. Yeah. Okay, and you can feel those getting hot, and then you're still getting some work under and through here.
Yep, felt that.
Nice.
For sure.
Yep. Okay, so posterior chain muscles for that. And then because we talked about the hip flexors and them being quite tight, we want to lengthen through there, and we also want to strengthen our glutes. And we do that with a lot of varying exercises. Again, you can scroll back and look at some of the reels that we did on leg strength, squats, lunges, deadlifts, some hinging for our glutes. But we want to not ignore the posterior chain, the things we cannot see in the mirror, because that's going to help us with that lifted up body. And then lastly would be making sure we're also three-dimensional, working our core. So we're working on the back muscles of the spine. And we also have a reel on that where we did core. So that was only a few months ago, where we worked three-dimensionally, a few exercises, key exercises that are going to help you keep the back strong so that you are less likely to have strain in the back because of poor posture pulling you forward and lengthening those muscles too much. There we go. All right. How's that feel?
Feels good.
Yeah, and you, like I said, you have good posture, and a big part of why you have good posture is because you move regularly, and you move under load regularly, and you lift heavy things the right way and carefully, right? So it's not what we do, it's how we do it, and how frequently we do it in the right positions over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it's like watching which muscles are trying to compensate or help or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm, trying to do this, and all of a sudden you kind of get.
I think also another thing that's helped you is you've slowed things down.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're not moving as quickly through your movement patterns. You've learned good ways to move, but you're not moving as fast. And the slower we move, the more muscle fibers we recruit in the movement in of itself.
And I think that's where you help me a lot, because one of the goals I would say is, like, you're lifting weights and you're going from 10, 20, 30. It's about getting more weight, so then obviously the form gets shittier and shittier because your goal is, in your mind, is to do more weight, but it just gets, like if you're doing bicep things,
with momentum,
starting to sway, and you're just like, wow, I gained another 10 pounds.
But really, did you really do anything?
But you're actually making it worse and worse.
Yeah,
and
you're
worse,
going backwards a little bit.
And you could hurt yourself. So then, for me, it's about, a lot of the stuff is about the form, right? More about the form and the muscle that you're trying to activate.
For sure.
Staying with the muscle there, as opposed to, like, because tricep pull downs are easy to do if you're,
if you're throwing your body weight in there,
right? I mean, you can get a lot more weight that way.
That's right. And as soon as you bring it into line with your shoulders,
you have to lock in your shoulder. I mean, your elbows. And all of a sudden, it's just the tricep.
You're isolating. Yeah. And I think we broached it, but emphasizing that postural muscles are endurance muscles. Right? I mean, yes, you can make those muscles strong and bigger, but we do want to start off with light weights, with only our body weight, our arm weight, those kinds of things, to just see how you respond. Because the next day you will feel, tension there. It might even go up into your neck muscles, and if it does, and if you have discomfort up into your neck on a regular basis, kind of like just niggly neck sort of pain, there's a good possibility that you are typing at your desk like this. You're not actually in this lowered posture position in the first place. And this position all day long has these muscles shortened the entire time. All right. So, and if that's you, even sometimes, learning some flexion and lateral flexion, extension exercises for the neck can help.
And that isolation has helped to build width for my back too, right? Which I think has really helped with the core and everything too, right? So
and you're rounding out the types of back exercises. You're not sticking to just one back muscle. You're doing several back muscles with the different ways you hold your handles, the tools that you use, varying some things up, and also you are lifting heavy for you to build size. For your back. For sure. Yeah, and that's happening, and which is great, because it's not easy to build muscle at this stage in life. And hey, I'm not going to say old. You're as old as you feel, right? But it's true.
I was young as 20.
It's exactly. But there's reasons for that, right? Just hormonally, we don't have the same hormones available to us to do that. Yeah. But if you're consistent, you fuel your muscle well with the right nutrition, and you're consistently showing up to repeat movements under load, then the muscle's going to grow, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Just not as fast as a 20-year-old.
Well, and maybe not as much, obviously, as a 20-year-old, because
and maybe you don't need that anyway.
Well, you know, you're training for the sport of life now, right? So it's different.
Health span.
Health span. That's right. Some lifespan, but more health span. Quality.
health span.
Quality is more important.
I'd
Yeah.
rather have more health span than.
And that's what
There's
posture is all about,
yeah.
right? Posture is, you know, having quality movement as we go into this next chapter. And certainly, the younger you are to start postural exercises, then they become regular strength training exercises, and they work your posture at the same time as doing regular type of strength work. So
Yeah, because I mean, as we age, a lot of people actually lose height, but it's more because of.
Well, it's not, it's bone degeneration. So they have compression in their spine and the degeneration. But yeah,
cave over on each other.
because they also don't know how to hold themselves upright because they haven't trained those muscles to keep them upright, right? And again, gravity's pulling them this way. So yeah. Questions?
Really.
Okay.
But,
Covered it all?
I think it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So keep up the good posture. Keep up the good consistency.
Yeah.
And notice in your everyday movement that you could be standing taller. Sometimes I'm triggered by other people. I see somebody walking and I'm like, oh.
I've got a tip, though.
Oh, you got a tip? Okay, wait for it. Wait for
If
it.
you want to increase your posture, if you want to help yourself,
Yes.
buy a Tesla.
Buy a Tesla.
Because when you're driving, you put your arms out, right? If you put your arms out, you're steering.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to steer anymore.
But see, you can steer. It's a perfect position to be working on scapular posturing there, right?
But if you just sit back and relax in the seat.
Because the Tesla goes by itself.
Yeah. I just had to throw that out.
All right. You don't happen to have stock in Tesla, do you?
Maybe. Anyway, from Liz and I, thank you for watching Kelowna Now.
Thanks, Jim.